He received a premonition from the system about the destruction of his estate and the death of his parents due to an invasion of monsters. Upon learning this, he rushed toward the estate with his aide, Javier. When he reached the outskirts of the estate, he saw that the monster dominion had already started and the monsters were in his estate. Would he be able to save his parents and the estate, or would the premonition come to pass? Watch till the end to find out what happens. The story begins with Suho Kim, an ordinary civil engineer from modern Earth. After a strange accident, he wakes up in another world, inside the body of Lloyd Frontera, a spoiled, lazy, and absolutely hated noble. Everyone despised him. But this new Lloyd wasn't the same. Using the knowledge of an engineer, he began transforming his world. For every land and space, he saw money opportunities and ways to plan his perfect retirement. He repaired crumbling roads, rebuilt the estate, and used real-world logic to solve problems that even mages couldn't handle. He didn't fight with swords or spells, he fought with blueprints, mathematics, and sheer determination. The kingdom that ignored him began to praise him. Through his clever mind and persistence, he rose from a joke of a noble to one of the most influential figures in the empire. During a construction project, they were attacked by giant ants and, in the process, they saved an orc, thereby making friends with the orcs, with the purpose of taking advantage of them for construction purposes. When corrupt lords tried to stop him, Lloyd didn't fight with swords, he fought with architecture. After turning barren land into fertile farmland, the corrupt lords wanted to snatch his lordship from him. After failing to do so, they polluted the water with dye, making everyone, including him, sick. He thwarted their plan and used the opportunity to get back at them by adding lime to the water used for the dye and making it turn useless. Using that as a basis, he swindled the money he had in exchange for clearing the lime from the water, getting what he wanted in the end. Due to his accomplishments, he received requests from other nobles in the kingdom for construction. He received a statue construction request from a count whose domain had been suffering attacks from a sea monster. Upon seeing the monster's hatred for mermaids, he decided to build a mermaid statue in the middle of the sea to scare the monster off. After the successful construction of the statue, a party was held on the sea to celebrate it. The monster, upon seeing it, was enraged and attacked the statue thinking it was real. During the confusion, Lloyd wanted to run away but his aide didn't. Javier went ahead to fight the monster but none of his attacks were working. After a long time thinking, Lloyd decided to go back and help Javier defeat the monster. He identified the monster's weakness and pointed it out for Javier to attack. He told Javier to cut the horn of the monster as that was its weakness. After cutting the horn, they tried dealing a finishing blow to the monster but failed, with the monster injuring Javier. After several attempts to kill it and failing, Javier ran out of mana and couldn't attack the monster anymore. Lloyd decided to use the monster's enemy, the mermaid statue, as a distraction to attack it. He hung onto the monster and attacked it with his shovel. As he couldn't hurt it, he used all the mana he had as a last resort to attack the monster with a mana blast containing all his mana. After the attack, Javier's body was found lifeless and his heart not beating, as he had exhausted all the mana he had. He was taken to the count's house. After his pulse was examined, it was discovered he was still alive. After a few days, his mana heart started beating again and he woke up with the help of the system. The people of the kingdom gathered and were glad. After a few weeks, Lloyd and Javier were summoned by the queen of the kingdom who had heard of his achievement. Lloyd Frontera saw the perfect chance to squeeze some gold out of her, through a fat construction contract. After being congratulated on his achievements, the queen, curious about his reputation, tested him, asking what in her palace needed urgent repair. But Lloyd saw through her plan. Instead of naming what she expected, he boldly declared that the palace was fine, but the kingdom needed a bridge. Impressed, the queen agreed, and that's when he handed her a pre-written contract meant to secretly favor him. The queen noticed immediately. Furious, she asked if he didn't trust her, but Lloyd flipped it around, saying the contract was to bind him to his duty. When the bridge was finally built, he staged a distraction and tried to run off with the money, dreaming of a quiet, carefree life. But the queen wasn't fooled. She saw right through him. She invited him to a royal banquet where she told him of his plan and told him if he ever changed his mind, she would be expecting him. Upon hearing that, Lloyd thought it was over. Until a chilling memory returned, the code that marked the queen's assassination in his past life. The queen returned to her chamber feeling tired and intoxicated. She thought the pounding in her head was just the after effect of the alcohol. But as the pain grew stronger, a terrifying realization struck her. Her mana should have neutralized the alcohol completely. That's when it hit her. She wasn't drunk. She had been poisoned. Gasping for air, the queen staggered toward the door, desperate for help. Just then, her aide entered. Relief washed over her, until she saw the cold glint in his eyes. Unknowingly, the very man she trusted was the one who had poisoned her. Without hesitation, he drew his sword, ready to strike down his queen. Meanwhile, Lloyd suddenly recalled a memory from his past life, the very code that warned of this assassination. Realizing what was about to happen, he sprang into action with his loyal aide, Javier. He told Javier to handle the queen's aide and just buy him time as he knew Javier couldn't defeat the queen's aide, a sword master. They raced through the palace, reaching the queen's chambers only to find the guards already dead. Inside, chaos erupted. The treacherous aide lunged at the weakened queen, who could barely defend herself as the poison drained her strength. At the last second, Javier intercepted the attack, his sword clashing with the assassin's in a violent spark of steel. Lloyd rushed toward the queen. She looked up, shocked to see him there. Without a word, he covered her mouth and began channeling his own technique, absorbing the poison from her body. As he did, the aide's sword aura flared, forcing Javier back. Desperate to protect Lloyd and the queen, Javier hurled a candlestick at the assassin, breaking his concentration. Lloyd focused harder, pain surging through him as his veins darkened and blood spilled from his lips. The aide's rage exploded. He struck Javier, slashing him across the chest. But instead of falling, Javier charged forward again, buying Lloyd the precious seconds he needed to finish the process while Lloyd was struggling with the poison and hoping Javier would hold on. The aide, frustrated that he couldn't kill Javier, ordered the guards to attack. Then, seizing the chaos, he unleashed a sword aura strike, slashing Javier brutally. But even with the pain, Javier refused to fall. Bound by his oath to Lloyd, he stood again, bleeding, broken, yet unshaken. He struck back at the aide and in that desperate moment, he awakened, unlocking the power of a sword master. With a shattered blade he manifested a sword clad in aura. Javier struck once, cutting through the aide's defenses and severing his arm in a single blinding swing. Meanwhile, Lloyd absorbed the queen's poison into his own body to save her life. But that poison nearly killed him, until he detonated it from his body in the form of a mana bullet, exploding the toxins into pure mana and awakening a new skill, mana absorption. The queen offered her mana to save him, and as Lloyd's strength surged with the queen's mana after absorbing all her energy, he rushed to rescue Javier, only to discover Javier had already defeated the enemy, reborn as a true sword master. The queen rushed to the scene to clear up the air, telling her men Lloyd and Javier were innocent. With the achievement of helping the queen and leveling up, Lloyd was given the power to look into the future. When he looked into the future, he saw the decimation of his estate by monsters and the death of his parents. When he came to his senses, he rushed back home with Javier after taking permission from the queen and asking her for help. He left the palace in a hurry with Javier. They rode as fast as possible to get ahead of the monster dominion and warn the citizens. Upon reaching there, he realized he was late. The monsters were already there. He warned the people to get off the fields and to take shelter. The monsters attacked everyone on sight. They attacked buildings and people, including his parents, but the villagers were able to fend them off while working together. The orcs joined them in the fight to protect the Frontera estate, killing as many as they could. In the midst of the chaos, they used a loud clanging sound made by Lloyd and Javier in an effort to drive the monsters from the estate. Javier and Lloyd drove the monsters from the estate by clashing a lid and a sword together. The monsters were attracted to the sound and followed them. They moved around, hoping to round the monsters up. In the process, their horse got tired. Lloyd leapt onto Javier, telling him to run. Javier ran as much as he could. Lloyd then called his summon he had instructed beforehand. The summon creature sprayed fire at the monsters. The other summon sprayed water. Then Lloyd and Javier used mana blasts as a last resort, killing as many as possible in one strike. And that was when the army sent by the queen arrived. If you love moments like this, loyalty, power-ups, and epic manhwa transformations, hit that subscribe, drop a like, and join me for the next insane chapter of The Greatest Estate Developer.